Are you on edge? We live in challenging, edgy times, so let's lean in. I'm Sandra Bargman, the host of the Edge of Everyday podcast, which drops bi-monthly on all your favorite podcast platforms. Tune in live with me and my friends and colleagues as we share stories and tough talk about pushing boundaries and exploring our rough edges. Real talk with real people that sparks provocative invitations to leap out of what's safe. Sandra Bargman, on the edge of every day. Thanks for listening.
Pressing down on you, no man has fall under pressure.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sandra Bargman, and welcome back to the Edge of Everyday, streaming on your favorite podcast platforms and at MaximizeYou.life. Are you a change maker? Do you walk between worlds, between cultures, between systems? If you answered yes to any of these questions, the Edge of Everyday is the place for you. In a nutshell, this podcast is about pushing boundaries and exploring rough edges. Through conversations and shared stories with friends and colleagues, it's my hope that we can begin to understand our edges. And what I mean by edges is those places where we are fearful, those places where we are resistant to change, those places where paradox and contradicting identities live in our beliefs and in our understandings, both individually and collectively. We live in edgy, challenging times. We cannot keep looking away from the ugly, from the difficult. And silence is no longer an option. Life isn't black or white, it's both, and I want to talk about that. I want to face the tension of paradox, and I want to engage in hard conversations. I want to explore the rough edges between our light-filled brilliance and our dark, shadowy corners. Because the more we recognize our own edges and get real about them, the more we can help others to do the same. And that, I fully believe, can help to change the world. So thanks again for tuning in. Today, we continue with episode 2 of our special 2-part series, Bleeding Hearts and Mother Stories. I'm live in the Hive with 3 women I adore: Anne Kittredge, Meg Flather, and Harriet Shugarman. I asked these 3 women friends to join me to share stories about all things mother in celebration of Mother's Day. The conversation was better than good. It was surprising. It was full of laughter, and the vulnerability was off the charts. We touched on the complicated mother-daughter relationship, caregiving a parent, and the care of our Mother Earth, the joy of having children, the choice not to have children, and the mentoring and nurturing of young people. Make sure you listen to part 1 if you haven't already. That episode dropped on May 19th. And now we continue with Bleeding Hearts and Mother Stories. Thanks for listening. But I'll never forget the day, and I was with my mother when she passed. I was literally holding her hands, and I saw when she took her last, my father and I were with her. She took her last breath, her last gasp, and we knew the moment had happened. And her arms came up after her last gasp. They crossed over her chest like this. It was so extraordinary. And the next day, of course, I had to call my sister and her family to come and, they missed their opportunity. She died a good month and a half before they were scheduled to come to see her, because we knew that she was in her last days. But they came, and they weren't allowed to see the body for a variety of cancer reasons. And so I took everyone to the beach to do a ceremony, and I'll never forget walking through this grove of trees to go find a spot to sit everybody down and light some candles that wouldn't get blown out, where we could have some, share and do a great little ritual. And I walked through this grove of trees, and I felt my mother so vastly enormously. And I felt for the so unbelievably surprisingly a release from my mother. That there was this release to be someone that was not bound by any desires or needs or lineage or whatever through that experience. So, my question is, did any of you experience anything like that upon the death of your beloved parent?
Well, I can speak to my mother asked me for decades to sing the Ave Maria at her funeral, and I didn't. I did have it played. I didn't have anyone else sing it because, you know, we all are like this, right? But I have sung it practically every wedding and funeral in my family and my extended family, and it's usually the Ave Maria. And so, and I didn't because, and I'll tell you why. Because it was a real decision. I decided that now that she was dead, her reality was different. And I can't know what that is. None of us can, but we believe what we believe because it serves us, right? And so I believed that she would understand that it was more important for me to give myself permission to grieve than to vocalize the morning of her funeral.
Mhm.
And I don't feel guilty about it. I mean, I'm like, she has to understand on a different level if she has any consciousness, right? That it's not that I'm not singing because I don't love her. It's
Yeah.
for the opposite reason. It's because I did love her. And please don't make me perform, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Totally understand. How about you, Harriet?
Yeah, no, I am waiting for my father to come back and knock on the door. And I've had a couple, well, I'll share in a minute, but just in lead up, my father was like the marble man and he could do everything and taught me
Ooh.
how to, like remove a toilet and fix the, leaky taps and how to shoot a gun and he taught me all these things. And my mom was always there. And he, in the end, and he smoked like the marble man, 2 packs of cigarettes a day and got throat cancer and then lung cancer and had an awful last year where he had to get a trach and he loved to talk and tell stories and couldn't talk. And my mom was there to take care of him in this really awful but my dad did it with such grace and because for him not to be able to speak, he wrote so many notes and to remain positive even though there was only one outcome. And my mom, like from cleaning his tray to helping him with everything, like she was so strong for him and he for us. And then in the end, when he like couldn't die, it was 10 days where he was getting no, it was time to go, but he stayed there, I think, so that my brothers and I and my mom stayed in a room and told stories. And we had this really special time, the five of us bonding around his death until he died. And so, but then it just felt empty. And I had one experience, a few years ago, I'm a little claustrophobic and I had to have uh, go into one of those machines, an MRI, and I felt, and I was really not happy to be there. And I felt him holding my hand. I felt that he knew how worried I was, and he was there. And that's, um, the one and only. I have pictures in my office of the wall of my dad, and I think of him every day. But feeling, that feeling you had where I haven't had that in that same way.
Well, it makes me wonder if, I don't know, maybe you might feel that for whatever, even not being as close with your mom as your father. Who knows?
Yeah.
You may. I just found it a strange release of the needs and the lineage and so this will be my next question after we hear from Meg. The next question being, what do you feel that you was the greatest gift that you received from your mother, from that side of, your female lineage? So Meg, did you feel that about
Well, I was so lucky because she let me take care of her.
mm,
She was so strong and she was so stubborn and she was so independent and so proud. We lost my father first, and Harriet, it was so hard. He was such a pillar of everything. And my mom was such a strong widow. She just doubled down, went right to work, volunteered for every shift, and then went to bed. That's how she grieved my father. But when she started showing signs of dementia, well, actually, the way we grieved my father together, that we were playmates. So we went to a lot of shows, a lot of movies, a lot of plays. She came to every damn gig. She'd enter like Dolly Levi and all these folk clubs in the East Village, and she'd walk in, I mean, they were dives, but she'd come to my show. So we really bonded because we cared for my father together. We did shifts, and because my career allowed me to work from their apartment. So she needed to go to the hospital. She needed to deliver babies and be around babies. And she did the night shift, and I was his day shift. And it was a very quick, unfortunate battle with cancer, just 9 months and he was gone. But we were a little trio together. And so when it was just the two of us being playmates, she was very, very in need of me. And that was really big because she was such a busy woman. All my life, she was so busy, so compartmentalized, tried really hard to make everybody happy. And then she really needed me. So I had been waiting for this woman to really want to spend time with me my whole life. So then I got her. Then I moved her into the building. Then I moved her onto my floor. And the love affair began. I became her life and her light. And watching her brain slowly die and simultaneously her heart enter the room more and more and more. And I got to see little Becky, the spark. I saw what a trooper she was, how understanding she was, how forgiving she was when when we would struggle with the care and we didn't know what we were doing, and she just smiled like, I don't know, it's fine, but it was very interesting because she prepared for her death. She and my dad really worked hard with wills and DNRs, and I knew to have the DNR right on the wall so that if I wasn't there and a caregiver was there, no 911, she did not want to go anywhere. And she had a stroke in front of me. How generous was that? So I witnessed it and then put her to bed and camped out next to her, sent everybody home. And it was an exquisite death because she didn't have any fluids, any medication. And it was just this beautiful, gentle breath for 24 hours. Her eyes shut, happy, clean in her bed. And then one final, and that sound was like, oh my God. And I just knew in that moment, I'm not afraid.
yeah.
I don't want to be sick, but I am not afraid to die.
Yeah.
And I felt this force just swirling. And then I stayed and I camped out in her apartment that night. I slept on the couch and I just felt like she flew right into my chest. I couldn't hold the joy. How she was going somewhere so magnificent.
Yeah.
She was out of that body. She was out of that brain. She was out of that disease. She was out of that liquid foods and diapers and people bathing her and no privacy and never by herself ever again.
So did you feel a release of any
Yes.
sort?
Yes. And I felt
To be something other than when she was alive. That's really the sense
and then
of.
I feel like she swooped in and gave me her emotional experience of her death because I just felt this explosion of joy in my chest.
Mhm.
And I didn't make that up because
Yeah.
that's not what I felt with my dad. With my dad, I saw a beautiful smile. And my mom and I commented that he never looked more relaxed because this man tried so hard to save the world. He really did. He was Peace Corps to the end, human rights to the end, civil rights to the end, gay rights to the end, disabled rights to the end. And at the end, it was just like peace. He could finally say, I was enough, I did enough. But my mom was joyous. My mom took this. She went right through the Venetian blinds.
Perfect. So all of you, I was asked this question, what is it that I feel, and you can interpret it however you want, but the way that I was thinking of asking it is that when I was working with a psychic who asked, what is it that you feel that you inherited from your mother's lineage? And so you could take it in that direction, or you can take it, what did you inherit from your mother that you feel particularly wonderful about? I'll start in that. My answer in that moment was, I feel as though I inherited my sense of melancholy from my mother's side of the family. And I don't mean that like it's a bad thing. I mean it that it's a depth and a sense of presence to the good and the difficult in life in which I walk. And it opens me up, I think, to translation of that into beauty. That both the difficult and the joyful, that brings the sense of melancholy. It's artistic. It informs my artistry. I think it informs my ministry. It informs this podcast. It's that sense of the light and the dark coming together that makes me feel melancholy. So let's start with you, Anne. What do you feel like you inherited from your mother or your mother's lineage?
I would say, I'm thinking of three things. The first one would have to be strength. My mother had a strong core, and I really think that, I got that from her, that strong Polish stock. And also, how hard she would work to have relationships with that people she cared about, but she still stood up for herself. And she didn't always succeed, but family I really learned that family was important. And if you're gonna be destroying a relationship in your family, you better have worked your butt off before you have to go there. Like that's a bridge you have to really work to get across. And then the third one, and this was really when she was sick and she was living with us. And she was, definitely in the throes of Alzheimer's. I think I said this to you, San, at one point, but I feel like as we get older and we get really old, I feel like all of the masks, you're too old, you just can't have any mask on anymore. And so you're really getting to see someone's essence. And my mother's essence ended up being the most appreciative and sweet. I mean, sweet and appreciative. And I'm telling you, I watched her during this time, and I've said it to my family. I hope that if that happens to me, I so hope that that's the gift I give whoever's caring for me, because it's really easy to take care of someone who is just completely appreciative, So.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Meg?
I'm muting because 57th Street is particularly loud. It's calming down now. It's good. And that was, I feel like our mothers were cut from a very similar cloth. Was your mom a 1930s baby?
1926.
Okay, yeah, my mom was 33, and she was born the year of the Depression, and I think that really informed her.
Mm-hmm.
And so work ethic, duty, strength, never complaining, an optimist. but also very no nonsense, no BS. You know,
Practical.
my dad was the dreamer and the philosopher, and she'd be like, all right, Raj, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? She was the first day of Gemini, so there was a lot of Taurus in there, which I loved, and my dad was so a Gemini. And so I'd like to think what she gave me is the part of me that shows up, that's a person of my word, that honors commitments. I work very hard. Whenever I've been given a job, I over prepare, and that's all my mom. My mom, when she was in school, would be studying for her exams and convinced she was going to fail, and we'd all be listening to her little cassette of her notes at the dinner table, you know, and that was fun learning about like the fallopian tubes and the uterus and placentas at the dinner table. And then she'd be like, I'm gonna fail this one, you kids. And then she'd get the top score every time. So that was Becky. She was always thinking she had to work so much harder than everybody else, do so much more than everybody else, but then had this strength, had these balls, and she did it. We're gonna do this, and we're gonna do this, and I'm gonna make this. So I like to think that part of me, that meets my commitments, that shows up for the people I love, and my optimism comes from my mom.
I love that. Yeah, so true. My mother was 34 too. How about you, Harriet? What do you think that you
Those are all such
received?
beautiful stories. You know
Mm,
what? I think for my mom, my mother, like you, on the importance of family, but and then her family extended to her friends. She had lifelong friendships from, elementary school that she grew old with these friends, and um, how important it was to have those connections and to be there in good times and bad times. And I've watched her take care of some of her friends as they've aged, and she just was there as the support for them, and continues in that way. I see her with my dad's sister, who was her best friend in high school. That's how she met my father, actually, and who's moving into just with dementia suffering, but she goes and sees her every day, and they go out and they go for lunch and they go for a walk, and she is there. And so for me, I think seeing that and watching that, my, close friends, I over the years, I really do try to stay. I feel like I've lost a little bit of touch, but really try to keep that circle there. And broadly through my work, I when I meet people, I want to know them and stay in touch. And I think my magic skill is a connector. And I think that comes from my mom. Just watching her, in some ways, she connected in different ways. But I know when I meet someone, they should meet this person, and big things are going to come from that. And I think it has its roots in watching my mother grow these friendships that have lasted a lifetime.
beautiful. Ladies, I'm gonna put this out there. Are you good to spend a little more time? Because there's a couple of questions I really want to get to, and I'm thinking I'm gonna turn this into two parts, if you're good with that. Thank you. I am gonna bring tears to my eyes. I am loving this so much. Thank you for your stories and what you're sharing. Okay, so we're going to move on to children and the choice to have children, the choice to not have children. I'm going to start. I'm going to start with you, Harriet. I know that you have children. Did you want to have children? I mean, was that a given for you as in your life, as you were growing up? Did you always know you wanted children?
I assumed that I would maybe one day have children, but I also, in growing my career and moving around in different places, I wasn't sure, and I didn't meet my husband until my mid 30s, and then I wasn't sure if when he became my husband, would we be able to have kids? Anyways, I mean, who knows? And anyway, so I did imagine a family, but it wasn't if it was sort of if it happened. And I do have two wonderful children who are not children at all anymore, who are adults, a 25-year-old daughter and a 27-year-old son who are amazing. And I love being their mother. And I'm so happy that they're in my life. And it's been wonderful having that experience of being their mother and now being able to be close to them as they're adults. And that they don't live in the same city as I do, but we talk often and I try to see them often. But I wouldn't say I knew for sure that that would be part of my life. I'm happy it is.
Now, how has having children changed you, do you think?
Yeah, it's such a
Enormous question.
yeah. I think, growing up, watching them grow up with me, trying to maybe be like your mom, Meg, just to do it all at the same time. And I was raised with that fairy tale that you could have it all if you wanted it, and that's not true. And um, it was tough, that part of it, and trying to be there for them and trying to advance my work. And at different times, I think I dropped the ball on both sides. And but now I talk to them often, and I can't imagine them not being around or being part of they are my life and my life's work. As you know, Sandra is around the climate crisis and parenting and how and so I think about it a lot. What is their future going to be like as we live this emergency? And it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse before maybe one day it gets better, but it's something that's happening on a geographic, a whole different scale than our lifetimes. And so I worry constantly about not just them, but yeah, people growing up that won't have the same opportunities that I had in the same way because of what we've done to our mother, our
Our
mother.
our mother, every human being's mother.
Yes. And we've, she'll be fine, but
She'll green over, but
she will, but I'm not sure. And she's screaming at us to do better. And so I get that wrapped up with my own children and then working with parent groups and the harm we're doing to children every day now through the air they breathe and what we brought for them. So anyways, it's a big question. So
completely.
I want you to
Well, no,
end
I have one.
it.
No, I have one more,
Yeah.
and yes, and we'll get into that when I have you on the show again. But how are you feeling? What are you sensing with children today? Not just your own, who are a little older. What are you sensing with children today in terms of the climate crisis, with the level of angst and where according to this incredible book that you've written, what's the pulse of what's happening with young people now and their awareness of the crises and
Yeah,
such?
I think it's interesting. I think from maybe 20 years ago or so, where it was like, oh, we can't bring a child into the world because of the weight of that child's footprint on the planet, which, now I think it's more, how could we bring a child into the world because the world is going to be such a messed up place for them to grow up in. Um, and so I feel like with a lot of, it's such a personal choice that people make for of so many different reasons, and for every individual that needs to be respected with their choices. But I do think that there is a lot of questioning about what is the world going to look like not far into the distance, 10, 20, 30 years. And so even, these alpha generation, right, we're at now,
Yeah.
they're going to live the climate crisis every day of their lives. And so I think to be to parent through that, and there's a lot of, many people are still having children, but there's a lot of feelings around, is that selfish?
Yeah.
Is it an act of hope? Is it who's that for? Are they going to be the Terminator? I wrote about that in my book. But I grew up without Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Terminator movies, and
Yeah.
there was Sarah, who raised her son to take care of the world. We shouldn't have to do that. Our
Yeah,
children should to be children. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of maybe more thinking about what does that actually mean than, um, not that people didn't always think about that, but you have to think about again
it's much more prevalent.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I speak to young women all the time that absolutely speak in those terms.
Mhm.
Not being able to financially handle it,
Yeah.
and the climate, et cetera, et cetera.
Can I
So
can I interject here?
please, you were going to be next.
Oh, because that was really fascinating, Harriet. Really, I really loved hearing that. But what kept hitting me was right now there is a resurgence in uh, some circles
Mhm.
to have more
More.
babies.
Yeah.
And one thing I thought is if they start having a lot more babies and the people who are actually thoughtful about it don't,
Right.
then we're in trouble,
Right.
even more trouble. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Oh my Lord, ain't that the truth? Well, we're seeing it in our own regime. Have more babies. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Oops, too late. And, and tell us about your children and your choice to have children.
Well,
That's a podcast in and of itself, but
yes.
we'll get the
I
condensed version.
yes. I was not mother material um we were married 14 years before we even decided to try to have children and the conversation went like this. So Anne, we're getting older, are we going to have kids?
I got
And
10 more minutes.
what?
I got 10 more minutes to pop one
Yeah.
out. What are we doing here?
Oh, okay. And I said, well, hun, I said, it would be a new adventure. Yeah, let's do it. I am not kidding you. And my mother, when she found out, she's like, are you sure? I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, nobody saw me as a mother. And so that's what we did. And we ended up creating our family through adoption because I was a little older and it wasn't happening. And, uh, we just really felt that, that the parent-child relationship was very spiritual, not just biological and not just nurture, but actual spiritual. And, we found each other. I just love my kids. There's no differentiation for me. You know what I mean? They're just my kids, and even to the point where neither of them look like me. And I remember so clearly when I was younger with her, especially with my daughter, and she had friends and stuff like that. And I remember once we were with a little girl and her nanny, and the little girl was crying, crying, crying. And so I said to the nanny, "Why don't you take my daughter, and I will take the baby and I will soothe her and I will, and so I did. And we were outside and stuff. And everyone's looking at me going, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful with your baby. And I'm thinking, oh, she's not my baby. Like this, she looks nothing like my baby. And then I realized, oh, she looks more like my baby than my kids. And it was the first time where I went, oh, right. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, folks. No, I've told my kids that they have made me a better person. They've made me a better performer. The things I learned, the things I was exposed to that I otherwise wouldn't have, the things I understand now that I would never have understood. I lacked empathy in a lot of areas, and because of the experiences I've had with them, that's been taken care of. I'm maybe overly empathetic now. But I'm very, very, and I'm still not the best mother material, but I'm very, very happy that was the direction I went.
Well, looking from the outside in, you are an exceptional mama.
That's very nice.
Your devotion and, well, what I love about how you do it is you're just all up in the all the tendrils and I can't comment. My apologies, Harriet, but I do know Anne's kids.
She
The way
knows.
she and the way her involvement, the way you're hands on and yet hands off, the edge of everydayness of that, how you do that and balance that is awesome.
Oh, thank you. Because that's the goal, right, Harriet? Isn't it?
Yes,
It's like
yes.
it's a hard line to follow, right?
Yeah, and I rest assured that you don't always, but what I see from the outside looking in is you do a damn good job of it.
Thank you.
And I know for certain Harriet does too. So Meg and I are the two broads that don't have chitlins. Did you? I can't forgive me if I don't remember this, Meg. Did you always? Was there a time in your life that you did want kids, or I mean, what was your story and how has your choice to not have children affected your life and your choices and your career and all of the things that you've chosen to make you happy in your life?
Well,
And
when
then
I was a little
many questions.
girl, I was such a caregiver. I've been a caregiver my whole life. I was the friend to the friend that needed the friend. I was the youngest of four navigating that mobile. I was my father's caregiver. I was my mother's caregiver. I'm still responsible with my siblings for my sister's care. And so there was a part of me when I started working, really doing the work with my therapist, that thought it would have been redundant if I became a parent because I hadn't really busted out and lived my story. And I had a lot of obligation that I put on myself, but I played a role in my family and I played a role with my friendships, that I was caregiver. And what's really interesting is there was a minute there when we were trying, and I met Jamie later in life. We didn't get married till 2007. And so there was a minute we were trying because I like adored his baby pictures. I thought, oh my God, if I could just have that little boy in the snowsuit. And then I was always so relieved when I peed on the stick and it was negative. So I thought, well, what's that about? And then we both had this great conversation about, can it just be you and me and a cat forever? And then, and I love that. We made this sort of commitment that we will be family. And then lo and behold, within like a year, my mother needed care. And so I really feel like I was a mother for 12 years. I had a daughter named Becky.
Yeah.
And because she became younger and younger and younger and younger and younger and younger, and she became my baby.
Yeah.
And if I had had a child at the same time, I wouldn't have been able to do that healing with her because it was a long road.
Oh my.
And she wanted me. She liked her caregivers, but she wanted me. And so when she died, I felt like I lost a child in a lot of ways, like a 12-year-old daughter, because it was a long road. So now I collect other people's children, and I have a fierce nephew and two nieces, and I really like them as they get older and older and older. It's interesting. Yeah. If I could adopt an adult child, that would be great. But all that early stuff, I need to sleep. Okay? And I'm so anal about my house and all that stuff, But then, of course, I keep adopting these cats that have special needs. So, I'm clearly the parenting thing is happening on some scale. But I admire the mothers in my life. I don't know how. I'm a triple air sign, and I just need to go away. I love that about my marriage. We're very independent, and we just sort of coexist. And my husband will say, "What's the plan today? What's your plan today?" And I tell him my day. I don't ask him about my day. I tell him my day, and we give each other lots of room. And I know that with a child, that would have been a good lesson for me, right? It would have been a good lesson for me. But so yeah, it was something I think I had fantasies about because I watched all those movies. I loved the Brady Bunch, the Partridge Family. I loved my dolls. I loved to I played house with such intensity, but it was a very easy decision not to do it.
Yeah.
It was one conversation.
Very similar for me, although I didn't play with dolls, but I too had that kind of conversation with my husband. I never dreamt about it as a young person, and never. It wasn't this. I mean, I romanticized it, I think, with boyfriends, but it was never like I was socialized as a female in the United States or on this planet, socialized to think about a family and creating a family and getting married. But when push came to shove, it was never really. Well, I didn't play with dolls. I didn't have. I had dolls that ran the ranch. I had a horse ranch, and the dolls ran it. The girls. And with my husband, I quite literally, we were just going along, and I finally one day I was getting a little older, and I said, and I really did kind of say this to him, like jokes aside, I really did kind of go, listen, I got 10 minutes left to pop one out. What are we doing? Are we like seriously, what are we doing? I've got 10 minutes. Are you good? Am I good? I mean, of course it wasn't that sassy, but it kind of was.
Come on. Yes, it was.
Yeah, Anne knows me well. Okay, it was. No. But it was not a difficult decision for me either, Meg. And like you, I also collect young people. I do have, and I've said the exact same thing to my husband. Like, if I could have popped one out at 27, it would have been great. But I do have an adopted daughter, somebody that if I could have had a daughter, I would have wanted this human for that. And I feel so deeply blessed to have her and now her husband in my life. It's just both my husband and I are just overjoyed. They really call us their New York parents. And I'm like, yes. But does anyone ever, Meg, did you ever have to deal with anyone asking you that proverbial stupid question, how can you not have children? Isn't that selfish? Did anyone ever ask you that?
I never got the selfish thing, but I did experience, because I live in Hell's Kitchen, where we all just march to our own beat. And I always say this, that my life hasn't changed that much. In my 20s, I lived in Hell's Kitchen. I sang at Don't Tell Mama, and I sold cosmetics. And I had a cat, and that's my life now, but there's now a husband added to it. But I'll tell you when I feel it is when I go to other parts of the country and go to family parties, and I am outnumbered by a lot of mothers.
Yes.
Suddenly my Eileen Fisher New York black makes me look really intensely Eileen Fisher black. I just feel like such a freak. But like you, I collect these wonderful people. And what's wonderful about these family reunions, and when I go up to see my goddaughter's family, the mothers are, well, particularly my goddaughter's mother, are so generous, and they make me feel like a rock star. And being Auntie Meg. And so she really kind of protects that part of me that feels, different, stands alone, that wonderful expression. So, yeah. And as you know, I have a marvelous young woman in my life named Hannah Jane, and she really looks up to me to help shape her womanhood. So I'm not a mother figure, but I am an older woman partnering with her mother in life.
Like a mentor.
To help shape her womanhood and give her permission for her feelings and chart her course and stop the comparing, because compare leads to despair, and so it's a very rich relationship. But I also struggle sometimes because I never raised a child, and so I have great expectation for maturity in all these young people in my life, and when you're raising children, you're helping them become these adults. And I'm just like, well, you're an adult, right?
Yeah.
You're there now. Come on, you can do this. So I have great. I'm in awe of mothers that understand when to push, when to allow,
Mm.
when is this normal, when is this being spoiled. Like I'm amazed by the negotiating that I see at the supermarket and on the subway and in the trains, and just how do you find that place of creating a human being, not a spoiled brat, and knowing when to be compassionate and when to be strict. I think it's daunting work.
Yeah, and that line shifts, the sands shift moment to moment for a variety of reasons. Absolutely. Well, ladies, I have loved this conversation more than you can know. And I am so grateful to all three of you for joining me for this incredible conversation about motherhood. Thank you.
Thank you for including me.
Thank you.
Extraordinary. Three very different paths with mothers and motherhood, and it's just been so rich. So before we go, I want to share with our listeners something, a plug, if you will, something that they can know about you that's coming up, or something you want, what you do, all of your links, your full bios, all of that will be included in our show notes. But what's on the leading edge for you right now, ladies? What do you want our listeners to know that's happening for you right at the moment? Your cutting edge, your leading edge, your hard edge. Let's start with you, Anne.
Well, I just premiered a show last night, and it was supposed to be a one-off, but I don't think it's going to be. It went really, really well. So, the information about future shows will be on my website, and you'll have that in it. So that's great. And then the thing that I've been just finishing up on now is my first holiday album.
Oh, that's right. Yay.
Believe it or not, when you're doing a holiday album, you're doing it in March. And it has to be done by June. And so it's a little weird. But we're finishing it up, and I'm very excited. We called it You Slay Me. It's a double entendre. Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to be fun. So I'm looking forward to releasing that.
Oh, that's so great. Yay. How about you, Harriet?
Well, and you'll share all these different links, so I'm not going to talk about that, but I wanted to say that there's so much happening in this space and world that I work in that's being cut into bad pieces on the work, in science, in climate and weather. And so I think we all are like, what can we do? And I think as mothers and caregivers, as we need to stand where we're needed and show up. And so I'm trying to show up more. And interestingly, on Father's Day, which is in June, my kids are coming to New York, and on June 14th is a No More Kings Day from 1 to 3 in Bryant Park, and I'm going to be there. And so I just,
I'll be there with
See
you,
there.
Harriet.
awesome.
I'll see you there, Harriet.
Okay, well, maybe we'll connect so we can actually maybe meet each other there too.
Totally.
But hopefully it'd be so
And-
many people we can't see each other with.
Well, hey, I will reach out to you, but I will expect that a lot of people will be wanting your attention. And listeners, I'm having Harriet back on for an episode where she can share all of this in such greater detail. And I thank you, Harriet, for agreeing to do that.
Thank you.
So I'll be in touch with you to set that up. What about you, Meg? What's on your leading edge?
Oh, well, my husband and I wrote a lot of songs together over the last 2 years, and then I wrote a few songs of my own. So we've released my 10th CD of original songs, and
Wow.
10 CDs. It doesn't mean every song is a hit, but it's an interesting. They're like journals. They're like journals of each chapter. And I put this show together called Walk Home, and it's an interesting example of like what Anne was saying, when you don't know if something's going to be a real thing and you're just going to do it once just to honor it. And it's a show that partners songs that during COVID were giving me such strength on my walks of the great singer-songwriters that came of age with me. The Sean Colvins, the Suzanne Vegas, the Ricky Lee Jones, the Joan Armatradings, Kate, like that, my playlist of these great women that shaped me discovering my voice as a folk singer rather than what the original plan was the theater voice. And so I partnered these two pieces, the original songs from the album with these covers of these great women that really shaped me. And I call it Walk Home. And the album is called Walk Home. And so we're going to do that again on August 7th. But all my CDs are free to listen to on YouTube, and just go to my channel and all of them are there. And then the other big thing that has happened that I'm excited about is I created this very contemporary look at Rodgers and Hammerstein a few years ago through the lens of a singer-songwriter and not an actress. And I'm going to be performing it in Hammerstein's living room on his 130th birthday.
Oh, that's special.
And he will be there.
He will be there. I have a thing with that man. That's all I'm going to say. I have a thing for Hammerstein, and he knows it. But it's an interesting example of envisioning something, because it'll be a benefit. It'll be a benefit for the museum there. But I kept seeing it, and I think it's a great thing to leave people with, because it's not about getting everything you want. That's not. It's there's like a handful of things in your life that are driven by something higher, like Anne's mother, duty, service, and so the way this kind of easily happened, meeting the people and having them respond and having them come and like not banging on doors and forcing things and see me and like me and notice me and hire me. It just was this organic, we'd love to have you. Isn't that lovely?
Breathtakingly lovely.
Doesn't always happen like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the flow of the universe and the synchronicities and the ease. Full body chills. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the summer plan, and very thankful for this conversation today.
No,
Thank you. Yeah.
You're great women.
truly great women. Thank you again for being on this podcast, ladies, on the edge of every day. I'm going to close out with a quote that I found and a little bit of a closing prayer. It's too dark in here. Let me get over here. O source of life, blessing to those who have carried us in their bodies, in their hearts, and in their minds, and all those who have mothered us in some form or fashion. We thank them and honor them all, those we can hug today, and those who are now gone or distant from us. And blessings too on those for whom mothering is complicated, difficult, heartbreaking, or incomplete. Dear ancestors, help us to heal and restore and rebuild all generations, forwards and backwards in time. Let us dedicate this new era to mothers around the world, and also to the mother of all mothers, Mother Earth. It is up to us to keep building bridges and to bring the world closer together and not destroy them to divide us further apart. And so it is. Thank you, listeners, for spending your time with us. Remember, you are always at the edge of the miraculous. So until we speak again, take good care.
Pressing down on you, no man has fall under pressure.